States Air Force. This is a special honor this year, by the way. The parade is honoring the United States Air Force, and we're delighted to have with us, sitting down right now, getting wired in, a Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. Chief Master Sergeant James Roy is getting saddled up here. And, Chief Master Sergeant, first of all, explain to me what the job of the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force is.
Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force is the senior advisor, enlisted advisor to the Secretary of the Air Force, along with the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, representing all the enlisted men and women of our great Air Force.
From your point of view, as you look at this parade and you watch your units and the other branches of the service marching up Fifth Avenue past the crowds, what does this mean to you? What do you think it means to your men?
Wow, isn't this spectacular? I mean, to see it's such a large city and all these airmen and all the service members that are out here today, and to see the people come together to represent the United States, and to say thank you for their many contributions that they and their families endure.
And Paul, you know that the NCOs are the backbone of any service, right?
Absolutely. I call them the professors. They're the ones, their job is to train the troops and train the officers.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. How long have you been in service?
I've been in 28 years.
That's it. So you're going for the full 30, huh?
Well, it may as well.
Or beyond.
Chief, I'd like to ask you, many people hear a lot about this being a Marine Army war. Would you tell the listeners what the Air Force is doing in this war? I know they have suffered casualties. They serve side by side with everyone. But let's educate the people on what the Air Force does in this war. It's not just flying airplanes.
Absolutely. This America's Air Force is in this war in a big way. Obviously, we have combat support roles around the world, but also we have those air assets that get the power to the front lines. We have airdrops, we have medical evacuations, and of course, an aerial view, if you will, through our ISR platforms that we run throughout the world, providing that intel to the people on the ground. And of course, we always have that air overhead that should a soldier or a Marine need it, they're there at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sergeant, for coming in here. We've got to take a quick commercial break here. We'll be right back.
My father was born in 1920 and grew up in the Depression and enlisted in the Navy in 1941 in September. My name is Tom Southwick, son of Paul Southwick, who was a photographer's mate during World War II. He was stationed in Pearl Harbor, and they asked for volunteers to go on an experimental voyage. They took 9 submarines and put a photographer aboard each one.
They loved it because it was different. Whoever had a photographer on a submarine?
The objective was to get a record of what happened when the torpedo was fired at a Japanese ship, so they would have a photographic record of it. But because that only took a few seconds, the rest of the time my father had kind of free, and he used his own camera and the cameras that the Navy had given him to take still pictures and movies of kind of everyday life on a submarine in World War II. He'd always been interested in photography and was fascinated by the daily life on board the submarine and wanted to record it. Did you think back then, Dad, that years from now people would be watching these?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That's why I took them. This is Waikiki.
It's important to him and to me as well that people who are interested in history and interested in remembering the past have a visual and written record of what actually happened by the people who were actually there. Somewhere down the line, there's going to be somebody else, maybe it's the next generation or 4 or 5 down, who's going to want to know, where did I come from? Who am I? And this helps answer that.
My name is Paul Southwick, and I make history every day.
Unlock the history on your film reels at history.com/filmcore. History, made every day.
And while we're on the topic of history, Elise is standing by right now with the chief historian of the A&E channel.
I'm here with Libby. Libby, can you tell me a little bit about the History Channel and how you honor service? Sure. Ever since we started, history has brought the great stories of our military and our veterans. These are the men and women who really made history in their own lives, and we're so proud to tell those stories. We also link schools all over America to our veterans through Take a Vet to School Day. We've got over 5,000 schools linked up. And Thank a Vet at Work is our program to honor vets in the workplace. History is really proud to support our vets. We want to thank them for everything that they've done. It's an honor to be here today, and thank you for asking about it.
Thank you, Libby. Now back to Paul and Chuck.
All right, Elise, thank you very much. And we missed a moment ago. The Air Force is, by the way, standing right here at attention, right beside us. We missed a moment ago, not this contraption, which is very interesting, a loader for the Air Force, but we had a miniature C-17. Miniature only because the C-17 is the biggest cargo plane, transport plane in the world. This thing spanned the entire width of Fifth Avenue. It was quite a hit as it went by, Paul, wasn't it?
It was a reminder of the important role the Air Force is playing, and they not only are they the only source of combat support for some of the remote units. When they get into a bind, they can turn to the Air Force and count on them to be there in an instant. But they're also doing all kinds of things of resupply, and they also have men and women on the ground serving side by side with the Army. So many people think this is a Marine-Army battle. It is not. It's a Navy, Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Coast Guardsmen, and as I said before, Merchant Marines.
We'll be right back after these messages.